This is Wales, and this is the Welsh National Anthem. It's May 1964, and today I hope to find a little of Welsh and English culture by a few interviews. My first guest here is Gareth Gregory. Gareth, what part of Great Britain do you come from?
I was born in London, of Welsh parents. I've lived half my life in London and the rest in Wrexham and Birkenhead respectively. I now live in Birkenhead.
Where is that? Which part of the country is that in?
Well, that's in Cheshire, more or less northeast England or mid-east England, West England, near Liverpool.
I see, and you consider yourself English or Welsh?
I definitely consider myself Welsh. My parents are Welsh and I've been brought up to speak the language and respect its traditions.
Well, exactly what is Wales? Where is it?
Well, it's a little country on the west side of England, surrounded on 3 sides by sea and the 4th by England.
You mean it's not part of England?
Oh no, definitely not.
What is it part of?
Well,
Or is it a country by itself?
It definitely is a country by itself with its own history, culture and traditions.
Does it have its own government?
It has not, unfortunately, its own government. It hasn't had its own government since the Middle Ages, when the last Welsh prince, Llewellyn the Great, was killed. And after the ascension of Henry VII, a Welshman, by the way, to the throne of England, the country was united with England.
Well, what is the difference between Wales and England in the first place? I mean, what's the difference between the people?
There's an ethnic difference between the people for a start. English people are of Germanic origin, and the Welsh are Celts.
I see there. And what other kind of other differences are there?
Well, consequently, the Welsh people who inhabited most of Great Britain before the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons are the indigenous inhabitants of the country, and their culture is far older than that of England, which has more or less been superimposed on them.
Well, is their culture different from the English culture today?
It is today, yes, definitely. Although many English influences are to be seen in Welsh literature and other Welsh cultural products, it still owes much to its own tradition and its own heritage.
Well, the people here speak English, don't they?
Practically all Welshmen do speak English, but as a second language. They think, and their way of life is conditioned by their Welsh language.
Well, is the Welsh language very different from English? Is it?
Oh yes, yes.
It's not just a dialect.
Oh, of course not. No, it's an older language than English, descended in its own right from the Indo-European via Celtic and Brythonic.
I see. So you feel a very separate identity then from the English race.
Oh, certainly, yes.
And yet you stated that you don't have your own government. What say do you have in your government?
Well, we are governed. We have our own representatives in the English Parliament at Whitehall, but it's only fractional representation. We are not represented as a country. There is a Welsh political party, however, Plaid Cymru, which was founded in the 1920s with the aim of gaining by political manoeuvring and by means of politics ultimate independence for Wales.
In other words, you want to be able to have a separate country, a member of the United Nations and such.
That's right. We wish to become a separate country with our own government, dominion status, and representation on United Nations and other such bodies.
What purpose would this serve?
Well, it would first of all be merely just. Smaller countries than Wales, New Zealand, for example, population is less than that of Wales. They have their own government. Wales is a country with separate people, separate problems, and a distinct way of life, and a distinct economy, which ought to be fostered, distinct from that of England.
But don't you think that having a political union with England, you benefit from the resources of England and from the prestige of England in the world, which you couldn't have alone?
Well, apart from the fact that I'm very dubious as to whether England has any prestige in the world, you're definitely right, economically speaking, but I don't see why political severance should make any difference to this economy. We're interdependent, as the Irish Republic and Great Britain are. By having political independence, we wouldn't of necessity sever all the economic links between the countries.
And what success has Plaid Cymru, the Welsh Nationalist Party, had in recent years?
Well, it's gained popularity steadily. Nothing spectacular, but it appeals most to young people. And in the present state of Welsh economy, Wales is more or less a depression area, and young, intelligent people have to go to England and elsewhere to look for work. For example, Wales produces teachers. Wales, the prime export is teachers in a way, and of course, due to the quota system and other such systems, they can't all find work in Wales, and so potential voters and members of Plaid Cymru are lost.
How many members of Plaid Cymru have been elected to Parliament?
None as yet, but whether they're elected or not, the number of votes they have all make a valuable impression. If a Welsh nationalist member candidate gets more votes, for example, than a Liberal, it at least conditions the other party's policies in the next election.
Well, why is it that the people don't support the Welsh Nationalist Party if it is the party of Wales and has the interests of the Welsh people at heart?
Well, perhaps the innate conservatism, which is a feature of older Welsh people, it is in some degree to account for this. If their fathers voted Liberals, and after all Lloyd George was a Liberal, therefore they've got to vote Liberals, or if there's a strong Labour socialist tradition in Wales, and as is quite widely known, if you're a member of a union, you usually vote Labour. And this applies to Wales as well as England.
I see. And in other respects, what success has Plaid Cymru had as far as, well, I believe they want to preserve the Welsh language as at least equal status with English, and they're interested in preserving the culture and the traditions of Wales.
This is not specifically Plaid Cymru's job. Plaid Cymru's intention is to fight on purely political grounds and thus gain independence, and such activities will come subsequent to independence. But other bodies, such as Mudiad yr Iaith Gymraeg, the movement for preservation of the Welsh language, and the Eisteddfod, the Welsh National Eisteddfod, and other bodies are doing quite valuable jobs in trying to preserve Welsh culture. It's really something which needs no preservation as it is, because it's extremely vital and live culture. Especially in literature, in the field of literature, um, novels, poetry, and dramas of which are really first class are being produced well every year. It's an extremely live and vital force, Welsh culture as it is. The only trouble is that the numbers of people speaking Welsh in Wales is decreasing.
How many do speak Welsh?
In the last census, about 500,000 of people over the age of 3 in Wales are fluent Welsh speakers.
Out of how many people?
That's out of about 2.5 million. It works out, I think, at about 45% of the population.
And do the rest know how to speak Welsh?
25%. Pardon?
Sorry. Do the rest know how to speak Welsh, or do they prefer to speak English?
Oh, the rest are usually monoglot English.
I see. And how many Welsh people do you think there are that don't know how to speak English?
Well, according to this census again, the 1961 figure is about 25,000 people over the age of 3.
I see. Well then, right now, English is the official language in Wales. Do you think that Welsh should be returned as the official language?
Oh, certainly, yes. And great strides are being made in this direction. More and more county councils and local councils are using Welsh in their minutes and in their official transactions. And now, if you commit an offence, you're entitled to a summons in Welsh. And great strides are being made in this direction.
But do you think it really has a chance when the overwhelming percentage of people don't speak Welsh? Can you reverse this trend that has really been developing?
I think we can reverse the change. Although the numbers of Welsh people, or the proportion of people speaking Welsh in Wales, is decreasing, the decrease has been halted in the last decade by the institution of Welsh primary and secondary schools, and where people can receive their education up to university standard through the medium of Welsh. And this trend, which is only recently been instigated, is sure to have repercussions in the long run.
What is the real reason? What do you feel deep inside you is the reason for wanting to re-establish Welsh as a basic language here?
Well, it's very hard to put into words. It's been done quite effectively by some Welsh poets, but it would be hardly be valid to quote the words. But all Welshmen feel a sense of identity as Welshmen. They feel themselves separate from English people, and they want to preserve this individual identity.
What do you think the Welsh attitude towards the English is?
Well, it's an attitude of traditional enmity in a way, not against individual English people, but against the idea of Englishness. That it's an idea that is anti-Welsh. If it's anti-Welsh, it's English. That's mainly that's basically the idea.
How has this come to we get this way? How's it gotten to this stage?
Well, it's traditional, even as far back as the 10th century, and of course before that, when Welsh people were actually, when the Celts were fighting against the Anglo-Saxon invaders. The literature reflects the enmity, and this has never really been lost, and the English have never really done anything to give a reason for any decrease in enmity between us.
What do you think the English attitude to the Welsh is? Is it a reasonable one, or is it very unreasonable?
Well, it's unreasonable, really, in that a great proportion of English people know nothing of Welsh culture. Well, they've merely received garbled versions in the press of some quaint cottage culture or idiotic peasants who can't speak English.